All right, so depending on whether or not I cut out the first part of this video, I'm going again. So if you're still watching and I left it in there, thank you for hanging in. If you're just watching and I took it out, then that's the only reason we're starting with a disastrous mess, is because I had kind of what I consider an epic fail. I thought about scraping this part because I'm concerned about the cell activator reacting from the bottom, but I don't think I have enough pillow paint. So we're going to use this as a potential background and pour over it, which also means I might have too much paint on the surface, so I will really have to cover up my painting as it dries, which is fine. Turns out I probably did have enough pillow paint. The other bummer is I spread out pink orchid on the top and swirled it around, and I used all my pink orchid. So now this one's going to be kind of completely different than what we tried for in the first place. But again, that's why we practice. Come on out, pillow paint. There's plenty of pillow paint on here. I just couldn't tell by looking in the jar. So this is what practicing looks like. So I can do one of two things. I can either spread out a different one and swirl it around, and then go from there, which I kind of think that's what I'm going to do. I also had to mix up some more Neptune's Gaze, and we no longer have the pink orchid in the mix. So I don't know. This is not that thin. It's a little thin, but it's not too bad. This is Fantasia from the Summer Sequins set. So I'm going to put a little bit of this in the center, and I'm going to swish it around. This is not the center. Again, it's not going to be perfect. This is a little thin, but it's not as thin as my pink orchid was. So I probably could get away with using this in a bloom and not thickening it up. If you get your pigments too thin, you can either add more regular pouring medium, or you can thicken it up with a little gel gloss. I can't decide if I'm just going to use that as the bottom puddle or swirl it around. I think I have too much paint on the center, so I think I'm going to swirl it around. This is crazy. It's supposed to be a simple little bloom. This lighting is terrible. Every once in a while I use this little ring light and it works great. And then other times it creates like this white light of terribleness. So I took it off. I can't figure out why. So I have my regular ring light in the background, but whoa, there's so much paint on there. Okay, hold on. There's no place to wipe this off. Everything's so dirty from my previous pour. It wasn't moving around. There's obviously a lot of paint in the center. I just wiped it on my painting shirt. Okay, pop that bubble. I feel like a little kid making a giant mess. Oh no! I dug into the pillow paint. Y'all, I should have just sat back down and not tried to paint today. It's not going that well. You should see how much paint I have on this puppy pad. Now I have very little in the center where I kind of need it, and it's everywhere else. Okay. This is a disaster, but it's okay. Kind of miss the pink orchid. It's so pretty. I love this color though. So I didn't do as good of a job on swirling that around as I did the pink orchid, mostly because there was so much paint on here. But that's okay. It will be probably covered up for the most part anyway. It's a beautiful color. Looks beautiful against the black. All right, let me wipe off this spatula because I have no place I can set it down that's not like a gigantic puddle of paint. And we're just gonna go again. I switched out the hair dryer, so I was using my one I have for small Dutch pours, and it would be too powerful on high and not powerful enough on low. So at least for me. That doesn't mean that would be true of you. It's just for me, that's the case. And just pop in a couple bubbles. If both of these paintings make this video, it's gonna be like the longest video ever. So that may not happen. Let's tilt this a little bit this way. My dogs are snoring. I'm sure you can't hear that, but if you hear it, it's not me. I kind of just want to like go ahead and spin this off so that if we do have any negative space, it's this and not that. That would work if we blew out the bloom just right, but apparently that's a challenge today. I find if I don't do blooms often where I'm blowing them out, I seem to like lose my touch. So I try to, oh, hold on, Tough, it's okay. It's okay, boy. My dog is dreaming and making some very funny noises. Sounds like he wants to bark or something. Okay, so we're still going to use Violet Rose. We're still going to use, I'm tempted to use Pink Diamond. It's not as dark as the Pink Orchid. It does still kind of have a bluish shift to it. It's just not quite as dark as the other one. So I'm wiping my hands off real quick because they're covered in pillow paint. So we used Paynes Gray the last time. I guess we'll go ahead and use some this time. I'm just going to drizzle it though. This Paynes Gray is a little thick. It's been mixed up for a little while. It's okay, Tough. Sorry. Sounds like he's growling and doing crazy barking in his dreams. It's so funny how dogs snore more than humans. Okay. I mostly just wanted to use this up because I already had it started and it was kind of down to the very last little bit of it. So we're going to use, this is Wild Blueberry again. And I'm saying all this in case I edit out that first pour. I'm going to use a lot of it because I eliminated a lot of my other colors, so might as well have some Wild Blueberry in here. All right, that's a beautiful color. It's a lot of paint right in that one little spot. Okay, Violet Rose Prizm Pour. Such a gorgeous color. Probably just gonna stack that on there pretty good, you know? I need to mix up more paint anyway. Concerned that this Paynes Gray on the bottom might be a little bit too thick. But since it's so far down, I don't think it'll cause too much trouble. It almost feels like I need to add a touch of something pink or red or something in here. I could throw some Chambord in there. But now I'm kind of past that point. I probably should have put it underneath the Violet Rose if I was going to. So this is Neptune's Gaze. I just mixed it, so there's going to be bubbles, but everything I have seems to have some bubbles right now. I just dropped pillow paste crumbs in there because I have it all over my hands. These two provide such a beautiful contrast, the Violet Rose and the Neptune's Gaze. They have a beautiful amount of contrast with one another. Kind of a perfect pair, if you ask me. And then I am going to use the Mallee Ring Neck Blue again. So that'll give us kind of a deeper teal. And that'll be underneath our blue-black cell activator from Atelier. So there's so many bubbles in this little pile. And there's so much paint on here that to get enough paint off, we are going to have to spin the heck out of this thing. But I wanted to try to save it. I didn't really want to scrape it and then just leave it. Walk away defeated, because that's how I was going to feel if I didn't do something different. So, in case I delete the first one, don't forget about the discount codes in the description box for Colourarte and Pixel Paint Designs. 20% off of Colourarte, 15% off of Pixel Paint Designs, where I get my boom gels and Australian Floetrol. All of these new Prizm Pour colors now can be bought in bigger sizes, which is great because they're awesome and you're going to want to use them in everything. And this new formula makes them a lot more versatile. So it really allows you to use them in pretty much any way that you would do any acrylic pouring. All right. I'm going to put a little Mallee Ring Neck Blue in the middle here. Don't want to put too much because it will take over under that cell activator, but I do want it to be to help us with the cell activator, getting it to spread and open up. I have almost no cell activator left, so I'm going to have to make some more. You'd think that I would make the blue black in large quantities, but every time I make a lot of cell activator, I don't end up getting a chance to paint as often, and then it gets kind of old before I get a chance. I can still use it on swipes though, so. My gosh. You guys wouldn't believe how messy I am. I just wiped it all over my finger. Don't do that, Amanda. I was going to just dab it. So I normally leave too much in the middle, but sometimes I don't have enough to blow around. So that seems like a pretty good target size. I'm going to blow it out a little bit myself. So I'm going to get my head in the way here. All I'm doing is opening it up. Okay. Right. That wasn't a great blow. Whew, that's terrible right there. It was really hard to move it, but we did get a better blowout. So with this little hair dryer, I find that you kind of have to go down and then push it out. So if you don't do that just right, like here is great. Here we pushed too far. So the good thing is we have cells here and we have them across here. So the places we don't have cells is somewhat symmetrical, which helps my brain. We still have some stuff in the middle that needs to move around. but I'm going to give it a chance to develop. But one of the reasons I like to use Boom Gel is Boom Gel helps continue to work on your cell activator after you blow it out. So where there's some cells developing, some of that is due to the Boom Gel doing its thing. It really helps with your blooms. It can really help you get your blowouts to be a little more successful than if you hadn't used it. It also creates these cute little round bubbly cells, which I love. I'm popping some bubbles while this is coming up. And I still have too much cell activator in the center, so I am going to try to break up the surface tension with my turkey baster. This is not a perfect blowout by any stretch, but it is better than what we had before. We also went into the pillow paint in some places, which is a bummer. I have paint on my shirt and I'm getting it on the counter. I am covered in paint. I'm going to take a shower after this. Okay, so we're just getting a couple of these bubbles. Let me get my little turkey baster. We still have too much left in the middle. It is also sort of down on the surface, but I do think it's going to go a little bit better than the previous one. So okay, so one part has like nothing. Like all of these have some cell activator except for this one part right here. So I'm going to try very carefully. Nope, I'm not going to mess with that. It's not going well already, so sometimes I try to fix the smallest thing, and as we spread this out and it goes to the edges, there will be places with big blocks of color other than just this part, so it won't be that noticeable. And so give that center just a little bit more of a chance. We're getting a little bit of action right around the edge, but not a lot. So I'm hoping a little bit more will develop so that we don't have a big pool of cell activator left in the center. It really makes me nervous after I had that one painting dry like that. I was so upset. I'm still going to resin it because the rest of the piece is so pretty that if someone didn't know what I was trying to do, they probably wouldn't realize that it's such a bust right there. But it made me really mad. I love how the Boom Gel looks like it's part of it. Well, it becomes part of the lacing in some places, so it almost looks like we used like a turquoise and a black cell activator instead of just the blue black. It kind of follows it works so well with Australian Floetrol, and so it's so much fun to use near your cell activator is the word I'm looking for. So let's start to play around. We have so much stuff on this. What is this called, a puppy pad? Like I have like no place where I can even wipe this off. That's how bad it is. So some of these places that don't have good lacing, I'm gonna create some lines to kind of draw away from that. I'll get another baby wipe. So you saw what I did with this one. This one has nice cell structure right there, just not all the way to the edge of the petal. And that's kind of cool. sometimes in these places where you don't have the greatest cell structure, you get some really cool like ribbon effects when you do this. So I'm not mad at it. Would I prefer to have even coverage all the way around? Absolutely. But that's not the reality all the time. So you might as well learn to adjust. Here's the spot that we didn't get very much blown out, but that's okay. This is kind of strange looking. This will probably blow off, so I'm not too worried about that. And just a couple of places where I didn't do the greatest job blowing it out. I'm just trying to accentuate those places. I don't necessarily have a lot of rhyme or reason for where I'm putting it. I just kind of look where my eye is drawn to something that looks kind of strange, and I kind of follow my train of thought until I put something in place. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's a flop. But you never know till you try, like this right here. It's kind of naked right there. So we added just a little bit of movement. This right there. And I still have too much black paint on my skewer here. I can't move this whole thing because of the center is not fully moving. I don't know, I'm trying to pop a bubble with that. It's not working. Okay. So chances are very good that I will not include I try to include the fails so you guys can see them. But on the flip side, nobody necessarily wants to watch a 55-minute long video. So sometimes I omit them for the sake of time, not because I don't want you to see my embarrassment, because I'm pretty committed to sharing those. I think if you only share things that are always a win, it creates a false expectation for people who learn from other YouTube artists. If you can't laugh at yourself, how do you expect other people to, you know? Okay, I think if I take a look at this the way it is, I think we should spin. The only thing is, some of this needs a little bit more stuff to get it to the edge because we're so much veering over this way. So that didn't work. That didn't work either. I better stop. I think I'm overworking it. Gentle spin. The colors are gorgeous. Still super worried about that center drying crazy. But this is beautiful. It's not perfect, but it is beautiful. So there are some bubbles I need to pop. And unfortunately, even my little toothpick is covered in paint. But this is beautiful. We still have some negative space in the background. You can't really tell because it blends so well with the colors. But what makes me super nervous is how much cell activator is still in the center. It's not as much as it looks like, but I'm worried about this part right here. I'm just worried about how it's going to dry. So I'm going to give it another spin. And because we've painted over what's underneath, when I cover this, I always cover my paintings with a food tint to try to keep lint and dog hair and bugs and all that stuff out of them. But if you need your paint to dry slowly, which is what you need if you're wanting to avoid cracking, you can put something over that tint. So I put like a clean sheet or t-shirt, something that doesn't have lint that's going to get in your tent, because the whole purpose of keeping those there is to avoid that from getting in your painting. But I recently had one, and you may have heard me mention this on my last video, that I loved it, and I knew there was too much paint left on the surface, and I knew I was running the risk of cracking. And it started to crack as it dries. So it starts to dry kind of on the outside coming in. And it started to crack in a couple places that I could still repair it. And so I put a clean t-shirt over my tent to keep it from not air drying as fast. And I also took it, I usually dry it on K-cups. I took it off the K-cups and put it on the table. And then I covered it up, and it took a couple days to dry, which is a long time, but it didn't crack any further. So it's so great. So the places that it did crack, I can fix them, because it was only like in the cell activator area on the outside. So I can fix that. So if you have an instance like where you've poured over something like this, like we did today, and you are afraid that you have too much paint left on there, which I'm a little afraid, and you want it to dry without cracking, that's a really great option, is cover it and then put something on top of that to help slow down the drying process. Some people also put it under a box of cardboard or plastic container. I mean, there's various ways you can do it. This is just what works for me, because I already use the food nets. And knowing my luck with dogs in this house, there would be a dog hair or something in the box, or, you know, how it goes. So I'm just getting a couple of these places. We're going to give it another spin. When we spun out, there was definitely some bubbles that came to the surface, because there's so much paint, you know, we piled on there. So each of those layers has some bubbles. So anyway, I hope that you think this is a win. It's not a perfect bloom, but I think it's beautiful. And compared to what we painted over, the composition is 10 times better. I do notice, right, my gosh, my hands are so dirty. Right, I can't even show you. Right here, we have some squiggliness. So I better stop, because I noticed that my cells are starting to get wobbly. So that's either from too much cell activator or just too much spinning. So I'm gonna give it one final look, see if there's any place that we should add another little swirl. I'm kind of tempted to put one here because of that wobbliness, but like if I take a step back and I look at it, I don't notice that. It's only when I get right in there that I notice it. So maybe I'm just being too picky, but it's starting to get a little wobbly here, right here. I probably tilted it a certain direction and didn't realize I was doing that. So I'm very tempted to like put a little right here, but I think it's too late for that. So I think we have to like it as is. And I'm gonna pop some bubbles, and then I'll bring you down for a close-up. I need to clean my hands. And yeah, let me know what you think of this. This was kind of a fun one. We had to work for it, and it's still not perfect. But I'm really praying that that dries okay and doesn't get all, because the cells, when they don't dry well, they kind of do this. It's hard to describe. If it ever happens to you, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, let me get you down, show you the colors up close. And this video is way too long, so I will definitely probably delete the fail. All right, everybody, so here comes our close-up. I am very nervous about the center. You can see the propensity for that to get wonky. There's already a little wonkiness right here, but I'm hoping that it dries nicely. If I look at the whole thing, I love it. I think the colors are amazing. I think the way they work together is amazing. So let me bring you down. One of my favorite parts is right here. Beautiful lacing, some cells there. I love that violet rose and Neptune's gaze together. You can see where the blueberry made an appearance, wild blueberry. I love the way the boom gel creates some contrast and lacing. You see that beautiful lacing right there? That's the boom gel. I definitely have popped my share of bubbles today. My little swoosh through here shows some pillow paint, but I'm going to leave that alone. So even these parts that don't have a lot of cells and lacing, because it's on a black background and we're using colors that are so dramatic and beautiful, it still really works. Like this right here, beautiful. That right there, really beautiful. So you can see these colors are gorgeous together. I hope it dries well. I will probably either do the fail as a separate video or put it in the front of this one. But thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think below, and have a great day.